Good evening. Good evening. So soon I'll start. I speak about the issue of archaeology and the starships. Mostly I'll actually reiterate on stuff that I already spoke about, but I'll do it with a little more elaboration. And I'll also briefly discuss Akhenaten. I mean the famous monotheist pharaoh. But first, I feel that it's very important that to add a few words with regards to the issue that was discussed yesterday, with regards to why in vitro fertilization or sex. Fertilization without sex is absolutely should not be done by titans or cherubs. I've kind of finished the video in with the kind of the dramatic horror climax. And I finished at that point, not just because I wanted to have a dramatic effect, but really it's kind of I feel that if people really want if they really care, they should have understood what happened long ago, and it's not that difficult to kind of connect the point. But just for documentation purposes, I'll say the following, and I already spoke about but with regards to the issue of the submariners. I've suffered tremendously by the hand of the Israelis, and it's only getting worse. It never stopped. But this is not just by the hand of the Israelis, because as I've said many times, it's also by the hand of the Americans that control the Israelis. Now, after my daughters were born, 7 and 8 years ago, respectively, of course, their birth is the most important thing in my life, and I cannot imagine life without them. And I raised them since they were born, half the time until a year ago, when they were taken from me by cruel people, coolest of the coolest. And this was an act of war, a declaration of war by humans against the cherubs. I've said it many times. But it should be said, when they were born, my life became tremendously more difficult, tremendously. Not just because raising small children that were born in the span of 11 months, Irish twins, as they say, Irish twins, is difficult enough. And when your wife divorced you just after the birth of the second one, and you need to be part of the disgusting custody battle, and eventually you win, but you are left without money, and you need to pay child support and also to raise them half the time, and they were just born, so it's so difficult. But all of that were not even the most difficult thing. The most difficult thing is that the torment and the torture and the prosecution of the Israeli intelligence, of me specifically as a target, became tremendously more bolder and cooler. It was a new level of cruelty. And it took me some time to understand why, but eventually I understood it. And this understanding, was critical in my decision just to be a monk, to avoid all kind of sexual relationship. And again, I understood long ago, that there is something that there are plenty of women that I found me that want to have sex with me, more than you would have imagined. As I say, I don't know, I'm not Ellen Delon, or whatever, as they say. I'm not ugly, but and I've had sex in the past, but I understood it. Sexually attractive young women, are kind of showing interest in me more than you would have assumed. Because I'm not rich, I'm not famous, and I'm not ugly, but I'm not again Ellen Delon. So I understood that something going on over here. But so many things, told me that that I should be a monk, and that's the way it is in the last 4 years. Not directly after the divorce, but shortly after that. And one of the most hideous of all things was something that I'm sure was new in the history of subjugation of titans. It wasn't part of the of the torture. That started more than 100 years ago, 120 years ago. But this is something new. As I said, it's kind of like a new product line in the in the U.S. Robots and Mechanical Men Corporation, which is the state of Israel. The robots are the females, and mechanical men are the zombies. You know, the male zombies. So I understood that. I mean, for a long time they sell the tea, and they also sell the actual robots, like the females. Even though in the 80s there was some kind somewhat of a recall, like because of all the spy scandals. So it was kind of like a recall in the 80s. So many just went back to Israel. But yeah, it's also like a product. So the purpose, of the marriage was, was an old school disgusting trap. Like they trapped me. Yes, they sent like a good-looking woman, with big boobs and yeah, blonde, and what can you say? Men have proposed marriage for reasons that are even more stupid than that. I would say to my defense that there are even worse or more ridiculous reasons for men to marry. So yes, I married her, but she was actually under the control of the Shabak. And the purpose of this was, they of course they took they wanted to control me, like that I would be their slave, but without me knowing anything about my extraterrestrial origin and nature. And the idea that she will be my handle, that I will be like her shoe, I'll do whatever she wants. For some reason they thought it's possible, even though it was not possible. But for some reason that was the plan, and that because they control her, indirectly they will control me. It's completely stupid, but it's not that different. In concept than what you see like over here. That they place all sorts of zombies around me with the hope that I will do their bidding, even though I don't even know their names and I have nothing to even speak about. We don't even share language. Arguably, we speak. Remotely. These things, but remotely. Connected dialects of Hebrew. Arguably, you can say, you can make a claim that, we both, me and them speak, dialects of maybe the same primordial language. This is arguably true, but in essence, we cannot even speak. This is reality. Should I lie to you? Should I be modest, and humble and say that I speak their language? I do not. They are animals. This is reality. This is reality. They are animals. Listen, sometimes being too modest, we just obscure reality from the people, and so let me be for a second. I don't like vain people, and I hate vanity, and vanity is the worst sin. But sometimes the truth should be said. Just for people to understand reality. People knew that I'm very, very intelligent and very educated, relative to my age, since I was about 3 or 4 years old. It wasn't a secret, and it was always like that. Always like that. I wasn't kept in hiding. I wasn't part. I didn't live in a cave. Not at all. Tremendous amount of people in Israel knew me. They knew exactly. What are my intellectual capabilities and my education, my professionalism. In so many, the fact that this was kept as a secret from people abroad is because people in Israel, they are all liars. They are all disgusting liars. Each and every one of them. So what do you want me to pretend that I am like the disgusting thing that you painted me like? But you know that it's not true. So it's not true. Anyway, they keep trying to make me their shoe. I don't know. Supposedly it can happen. Maybe Oppenheimer can be, the shoe of Barbie. Maybe Barbie can be the handle of Oppenheimer. I don't know. You tell me. I mean, is it possible? Do you think it's possible? Does it make sense to you? And also, another question should be asked, why do you want it to be that way? I mean, because if Oppenheimer will be the shoe of Barbie, he will most certainly dedicate his time to please Barbie. And Barbie will most certainly not ask him to create tremendous amount of room temperature superconductors because she have no, I mean, this is like, I mean, no, in no, like, you know, in what kind of like universe, I mean, she can't even think about it. And even if she could think about it, she will not ask it from him because she will ask other stuff, that, I mean, according to her nature. So you'll have Oppenheimer that instead of producing room temperature superconductors for humans, he will probably spend time producing, I don't know, like what Barbies want. I mean, shoes, I guess. Like maybe sex, which is fine. I mean, but I mean, I don't really know. But I mean, I didn't have sisters. Like I grew up with brothers, so we didn't have Barbies. But I mean, this is, I mean, assuming the Barbie is not in charge, which is probably not true in Israel, and this is part of the problem. But assuming that the Barbie is not in charge, it's just the handle of Oppenheimer, and someone is in charge of Barbie. So that someone presumably should think about the interest of the state. Presumably, all of that is presumably because nothing that is actually true in Israel. But presumably, this person would have like want the superconductors and not the shoes for Barbie. But I mean, that's the problem. That in Israel it's all presumably, but not so. The Barbies are in charge. Anyway, just a second. Anyway, they very quickly the Israeli intelligence, I guess, I mean, saw their plan failing. Not that it makes them stop, like, because you know they never stop, like you see here. But I mean, something else happened in our marriage that was even more lucrative from their perspective, which was the fact that it was obvious that we can have children together. This is true both for. There are two versions at least of Inbal, of course, maybe even three. But of course there is like one Homo sapiens and now one Titan, of course. As is the way, you know. And of course I have had sex plenty of times with both. In what universe do you live where this is not a rape? I don't know. Like, I mean, I really don't know. I mean, this is bona fide rape that is mandated and ordered by the state. According to any kind of definition of rape, both from the legalistic perspective and from the moral perspective. I was raped. This was the rape. And it happened more than once. It's not funny at all. It's not nice at all. Of course, I didn't know about it until much, of course, I had the divorce. This is rape. It's not like, I mean, maybe you, I mean, I don't know, maybe you, there's this thing in the Excalibur, like, you know, the movie, you know, you know, King Arthur. Presumably Arthur was born that way. By kind of like a rape. It was done very similar to this, to this fashion. Why this kind of rape is acceptable and or funny according to you, whoever you are, I don't know. And this is, I mean, this is one of the major problems of humanity, that, I mean, there is such a gap between the boasted values, like what you, I mean, you claim to possess, and what you actually, your true values. But I'll speak about it some other time, even because, I mean, it's a completely different issue. But I would say that this is like, I mean, this kind of thing cannot last, even without the cherubs, like without the big brothers that are now alienating you. Even without them, you couldn't have continued that way. I mean, this is self-destructive. I mean, when society and culture, I mean, there is create such a gap between, I mean, their true values that are manifested by their actions and what they speak, how they speak, This is like a bomb that is waiting like to be exploded. But I'll discuss it in another video. This was, a rape. It was a rape according to any definition. Anyway, they understood that I can have children, and so they quickly, incorporated this knowledge to their organization. And now they saw, okay, first they need to quickly divorce, and they shouldn't see his children, and he should be our slave, and we'll start a new product line for robotic babies that, according to their thought, it might be a very lucrative new line, especially abroad, because people, for several reasons, it's difficult to adapt today anyway. And things, the people that are kind of belong to the Titan community, and or mostly and to the gay LGBTQ pedophile communities in all over the world. Sorry for lumping them together, but that's the way it is. They have problem with the issue of babies anyway. So they thought, okay, great, we can now, these people will, of course we are super racist, and historically we were against, the birth of Titans in Earth, and they've done everything they can to avoid it. But times have changed. Especially what was changed is now. Unlike the beginning of the 20th century or the end of the 19th century, where it was a problem of orphans all over the world. In Dickens. Now there are no orphans. There are no orphanages. Even in undeveloped countries. So it's difficult to adapt. So they thought, yeah, it's a good. We can manufacture baby robots, which will be a lucrative product. And at some point I understood it, and I completely, it was the last straw, and then I decided, that's it. I'm not going. But it should be said that even without this issue, there were many other ways in that, sex is incredibly dangerous for me, and I've discussed it in a video quite not long ago, of all the rape. In Israel, it's perfectly possible that I will have sex with a Titan, and she will gain from it. Not only she enjoy it, but she will gain, the robots from my body that she cannot get any other way in recent years, and it will tremendously affect her health positively. But it's completely possible that a week after that, an operator or maybe she is an operator in the Shabak. Anyway, they will according to their estimation, it will be beneficial to the organization to file a complaint against me, that I sexually harassed her, and she will do it without hesitation. And these are the people that should presumably be, that they have to portray themselves as submissive, as I said, just like the mantis, submissive as the female mantis. Let's have just this is it. I didn't exaggerate. It wasn't an exaggeration like the mantis video from not a while ago, maybe a couple of days ago. It's let's play a game where I'm kind of your slave, or sex slave, you are my master or my dom or whatever you want to call it, and it will be a very nice game that we will play until the clock, turns midnight, and then I'm going to eat your head. I wasn't exaggerating. That's the way it is. And it was like that for quite some time in Israel. So it's perfectly possible that they will just, file a complaint. And if it were 5 Titans, they can all fight to complain together, and then I'm dead. I'm dead. And for this to happen, it doesn't take much. Again, it could be something that, I refuse to have homosexual sex with kind of someone from the Shabak that, thought that it's right to have sex with the robot. And there were many, that thought that, it's their privilege, and, were very, offended, where, of course, I've never had any kind of homosexual sex in my life, just to be clear. But many, thought that it's their privilege and were quite offended when the robot, didn't agree. So from their perspective, it's enough just to give the Titan females 5 that had sex with me command to file a complaint, and they would have done it without hesitation. And this started to happen. It's not a fantasy or science fiction. And of course, I understood it with the help of God very quickly. And yes, I'm a monk. So it should be said, sex is incredibly dangerous for so many reasons for me. Now, one last word. yes, I mean, in order to have babies, I mean, they don't really, I mean, they thought that they don't really need to have sex with me. Even though later not everybody thought the same. And the way that it is in the Israeli intelligence is everything is so distributed and so kind of like, I mean, generally there is no master plan. Like, I mean, there is kind of like many Mission Impossible teams that, I mean, that are, acting together or one against each other with some kind of cooperation with people abroad. So it's not like one big scheme. It's kind of, I mean, an emerging new kind of like, I mean, type of criminal activities that, I mean, in addition to all the classical activities that they always, I mean, part of. So some people, just, I mean, yeah, I mean, like I mentioned this one, So my estimation, even though it's not that important, just to say that my estimation that the plan in her specific case that she actually wanted, a baby, but she wanted like to do it like I mean, physically the correct way, I would say, not at all the correct way. I mean, because it was sexual abuse and sexual and terrible abuse because she was my boss, and I mean, and she was married, and I mean, the whole idea was that, I mean, I should have sex with her, like, in the office with a married woman that, I mean, would be kind of like placed against me in all sorts of like circumstances and against my belief, and I've never done it with a married woman, at least to my knowledge in my life. And it doesn't matter if it's fake marriage. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter, I mean, if she's like in long-term relationship with a boyfriend or married, because it was both. She was married, presumably she got married along the way, even though probably it was fake, but it doesn't matter, because what's the difference between fake and not fake? You need to understand. Everybody around me are actors all my life. From my point of view, there is no difference between fake and not fake. This is what I know. This is my life. Like, I mean, all rituals of humans are kind of like, I mean, are rituals, are performance. Any kind of marriage you could say that it's fake, because in the way that it's manufactured, it's performance. So it doesn't really matter if it's like, I mean, what does it even mean that it's fake or not fake? That they didn't go to the rabbi? I don't know that they did, and she sent me, photographs from their marriage, like in Cyprus or whatever, like in this municipal hall or Rhodos. I don't remember. Of course, So you said, I mean, that these photos were faked or photoshopped. It doesn't matter. I mean, the implication is what matters. If I am having sex with someone that, I mean, according to my knowledge and according to the game of everyone around me is married, this will work against me in a very, I mean, no, not in a performative way, but in an actual way. It will work against me. It will be detrimental to me. And many people in this workplace thought that we were actually having sex because we had. We got along very well together. Yes, I mean, we had good chemistry, like from work relationship. I didn't touch her like in my life, but yes, I mean, we work together. So people know how they are, and especially within the intelligence, people that are related to intelligence, they think that, I mean, everything is like, hints and clues, and they think that they know better than everybody just by hints and clues, and they don't need evidence, and they certainly do not need evidence that are admissible in court. It's enough like to, what it is, right? I mean, no, but they don't know. They really don't know. I never touched her in my life. But this was enough to create a lot of hostility towards me, and I was fired after 6 months, even though I worked very well for them, and since then I'm penniless. All this scheme was not a performance art. It was a disgusting scheme and abuse in the workplace, and targeted to a man that just raised these very young daughters and did not have money. And after that, I couldn't, and since then I don't have a job and I'm penniless. This was a disgusting scheme against an innocent man and against his very young daughters that, of course, suffer from it, of course, needless to say. And you, the titans of the world, do not care about it. And this is my last point in this video, that all of that, like, I understood, yes, that in Israel, everybody are Nazis. That's the way it is. This is a Nazi place. It doesn't matter if they are titans or not titans. They are Nazis. But at some point I understood they are titans abroad, and I understood that they don't even think about those stuff. I mean, they know about me, but, I mean, if they care at all, I mean, it's just, I mean, along the lines of, I mean, how can we, I mean, take sin from him? Like, I mean, also sort of question, like, I mean, does he have sex? Is he like sexually active? I mean, first of all, of course, and second, I mean, you don't understand it. I mean, how can, I mean, why is it not obvious like that? I mean, I'm a prisoner in a Nazi prison. I'm tortured by animals. Like, I mean, you think that I mean, even if, without all these kind of like issues that, I mean, you know, the baby robot factories or the complaints like in the police, even, I mean, without all that, I mean, do you think that it's kind of like a normative behavior to any sentient creatures to think too much about like how can he like have sex when he's tortured by Nazis? I mean, he thinks like all he thinks like how can I escape, me and my daughters, from this hell? Get us out of here. We are tortured. Do you think that, I mean, you don't understand why I don't think about sex? I do think about sex and I masturbate. But do you think that, I mean, I'm going to pursue any kind of like romantic relationship or to pursue kind of a sexual relationship when I'm being tortured by Nazi scum, me and my daughters? I mean, what kind of it's insanity that such a creature in such a situation would even, like, I mean, think about it. He would think about like, how do you escape from hell? How can I escape the prison? That was what on my mind. It was like that since at least 4 years ago. How can me and my daughters escape this prison? And people abroad, and this is true to the titans abroad, for some reason miss this issue. Like, I mean, from their perspective, the only issue is, I mean, is he like that or is he another? Is he like this sex or that sex? Is he fat or is he thin? Does he like that kind of woman or this kind of woman? I mean, all of you are babies. Like, I mean, you are like babies. You are not adults, all of you. I mean, do you really think that that's what's on my mind, like on my thought? I am only thinking like, how can I get me and my daughters out of this hell? Out of this hell.